What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my weekly segment. I am Chunky. This is Throne Talk. So if you haven't seen Throne Talk before, I cover the episode as soon as I watch it. I talk about any major plot points and make some predictions going forward. It goes without saying, this video is obviously full of spoilers regarding the second episode of Game of Thrones. So with that, watch the episode and come back after you've seen it. Okay, so the first thing that we do see is Jaime in front of everyone at Winterfell in the throne room, in front of Dany, Jon, Sansa, and Brienne, and Tyrion, and everyone's there to sort of greet Jaime as a foe of sorts. Obviously, having killed Daenerys Targaryen's dad, she's pretty pissed off at him, but I really like the way that Brienne actually steps forward and explains her journey with Jaime and how he actually fought to save her. You can tell it sort of swung everyone around, and it made her realise the character that we've been watching for the past 8 seasons. I'm quite surprised at Jaime's story arc, and to be honest with you, looking back on it now, it actually is one of the better character arcs in the entire series. And a lot of the plot points I'm going to talk about have a lot to do with Jaime going forward. However, in addition to this scene, I've also noticed that Daenerys seems to be getting a lot angrier. Whether it's frustration or pure rage, I feel like she needs to chill out, and it might actually be the reason why she maybe gets killed in the future. Now, while that's one of the more interesting plot points, there's a lot to talk about, but most of it revolves around the conversations and the interactions that we saw in the first episode. There's more of Arya and Gendry as they talk about how lethal she is, and she sort of wants to know more about him, and it seems like there's some sort of tension there, obviously looking to know about each other, but she's also expecting Gendry to make her weapon, and it seems like a chemistry is bonding there, which I'll get to later in the episode. Obviously, one of the biggest cliffhangers of the first episode that we were waiting to see resolved, Jaime and Bran. Now, Jaime does approach Bran, and the first thing he says is basically, "I'm sorry." And I really like Bran's both reaction and response to Jaime's apology, basically saying, if you hadn't pushed me out the window, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. So it was almost a thank you of sorts, but it almost makes us realise that if Bran was never pushed out the window, his journey would have been completely different, and he wouldn't in fact be as important as he was today. So it actually all makes sense in the end. Obviously, there's a lot of throwbacks and ties into the first season, and I like the fact that it's still happening in the second episode, so that's one of the major ones there. One of the more impressive relationships and one of the more impressive shows of chemistry in the series is actually that between Jaime and Brienne of Tarth. Obviously, at the start of the episode, she does back him up. They do continue their conversations out in the training battlefield, where Jaime basically explains that he wants to learn from her and fight under her. It's actually a really good full circle scene where Jaime learns to be humble and actually respect those who have done so much for him in such a small amount of time. But, of course, their chemistry isn't complete yet, as they actually do share one more emotional and powerful scene, which I'll get to later on in the episode. For the first time, we also see Daenerys and Sansa getting along as they have a chat about Jon and about their aspirations for the throne and going forward, about how Dany is going to rule and what she wants from the Iron Throne going forward. However, even though they seem to resolve a lot of their issues, there still seems to be some sort of underlying tension, and I think if it doesn't get resolved now, it'll probably carry through to the end of the season. I also forget that one of the more impressive arcs in the entire series is actually Theon Greyjoy, as he's figuratively grown a set of balls and actually returned to fight at Winterfell after rescuing his sister. Now, when he returns to Winterfell, obviously having done the terrible shit that he's done in the past to the Stark family, I was really surprised that Sansa just hugs him straight away. She sort of remembers the old days and she's on board with everyone they can get, and you can tell that Theon has now also come full circle and willing to die for both Winterfell and the Stark family. However, just a little personal prediction, for some reason I do think that Theon is going to die by the end of the series, defending either Sansa or someone in the Stark family. To continue many of the relationships seen in the first episode, I also like how the men of the Night's Watch and the North rock up to Winterfell and greet Jon. It's a really good reminder that everyone is indeed coming to Winterfell, and Winterfell is in fact the first line of defense in Westeros. Next up is the War Room, as Jon, Daenerys and the gang are discussing how to take the White Walkers and properly defend themselves. I really like the scene where Bran explains the Night King is actually coming for him. So all of a sudden, it's not only is it a battle to defend everyone at Winterfell going forward, it's actually also a really intricate plan to get the Night King separated from his army and take him out in hopes that it will actually end the entire army itself. I also like the fact that Tyrion actually sits down with Bran, explaining, hey, we've got nothing but time, tell me your story. And while we don't see the story being told, if Bran did tell Tyrion the full story, then I can only assume that Tyrion knows much of what Bran knows, and probably does realise, if not in secret, how important Bran is to the overall story. I do think there will be a scene later on in the show, or if not the next episode, where Tyrion is protecting Bran in particular because he knows the importance of the character. Obviously, one of the biggest plot points in the last episode was Sam telling Jon about his connection and relationship with Daenerys. It is explained here, but for now we can only see Jon as just uncomfortable around Dany and really just struggling to look at her in every scene that he's with her in. So Sam does ask Jon, have you told Daenerys yet? And he's like, no, I don't know how to. It's going to go sour. And you do get the impression from this scene that it needs to be done. Now, one of the more impressive scenes in the entire episode is what I'll refer to as the fireplace chat. It's the scene where a bunch of characters, mainly Tyrion, Jaime, Brienne, Jorah, some of the guys from the north, I cannot remember their names, Big Beard, I'll put his name down below. I know it and I always forget it. But they're all basically just talking about their memories and if there's going to be a tomorrow, and all their sort of relationships are starting to connect, and there's a sort of chemistry that is starting to build amongst characters and story arcs that really haven't had any connection with each other up until this point. But now I'm going to move on to the Mountain and Arya. There is obviously a past between those two characters. Obviously Arya was looking to kill the Mountain, but now it seems they have also come full circle and learned to accept each other for who they are, as they are now on the same side, the side of the living. There aren't really any more predictions or nothing that I can think of for both Arya and the Mountain. I do think they'll become even closer as friends as the season draws on, and I do think that no, neither of them will kill each other. To go on with Arya, yes, it wouldn't be Game of Thrones without a sex scene. Yes, Arya is involved in this scene. It is sort of uncomfortable, but obviously Arya and Gendry are together in some way. That's all I'll say on that. But obviously it's a good reminder as to how much she's grown and how much the character of Gendry has actually had an impact on her life. And obviously she wants to get it done before they die. So it's nice to see that one of the sex scenes in Game of Thrones actually has an importance behind it. Going back to that fireplace chat scene, I also do like how Brienne finally gets knighted. You can tell she's really hesitant. She doesn't want all the attention, but Jaime's like, get on up here, I can knight you, let's get this done. And you can tell afterwards, she's not only extremely happy, but I think that relationship and the chemistry between both Jaime and Brienne is that much stronger going forward. It seems a bit obvious at this point, but my prediction for those two is that they do get together in some capacity, or one of them dies protecting the other. I also do like the small scene between Sam and Jorah, where Sam gives Jorah the second last, or one of the last, original Valyrian steel blades, which was his father's at the time, or Sam's father's, and he's actually passing it on to Jorah because he can't hold it straight. It's another cute Sam scene, but I just like that because there's some sort of chemistry between their two families and past between their two families, which sort of unites them in some weird way. And then one of the last major plot points that is revealed in this episode, Jon tells Daenerys his past. Now, at first, she's sort of hesitant and skeptical, but she sort of believes him really quickly. Obviously, there's no reason why Jon should know so much, as she sort of does take his word for it, but she looks equally pissed. It's hard to tell if it's a combination of frustration, rage, or sadness, because she knows he has the genuine claim to the throne, but it also gives her a good foundation, and it also sets up a lot of questions about what she will do to Jon, if she will bend her knee to Jon, if she'll agree to rule with Jon, or if she will secretly kill Jon in the process. All signs point to that third prediction, because nothing's really stopped her this far, and even though she hasn't known Jon for a long time, I think she'll come up with a good reason why Jon needs to go. And as far as the major plot points, this is it. As far as the introductory episodes, I also do believe that this is it. The White Walkers are now here. Winterfell is the first line of defense and everyone is ready to go. It has been mentioned that the White Walkers will arrive before sunup, before dawn, and they actually do. They are here. The battle is going to take place. I assume this is that huge battle that I've been talking about for so long, so I'm super pumped for the next episode. But yeah, that's my roundup of the episode, few predictions going forward, and that's it for today. This has been Throne Talk, guys. Stay tuned next Monday for the third episode, my opinions and predictions on that one there. If you liked the video, leave a like down below. Share the video around to any other Game of Thrones fans or anyone who might want to hear what I have to say. Comment down below, and most of all, guys, subscribe. I thank you so much for your support so far, and if you want to stay updated with all my future content, hit that bell button down below. Thanks very much once again, guys. This is Chunky. Thanks for stopping by my world, and I'll see you soon. Take care.